This dating trick will forever change your love life. We're going to dive into this conversation today. So let me just be blunt. I think it's time to throw out the entire script you ever learned about dating and mating and relating and start rewiring yourself to be prepared for the evolution that we're faced with today. And the reality is the fantasy that many people have for a relationship, particularly from the dating vantage point, that it's all about attraction and entertainment and romance and physical connection. I think it's pretty obvious for many people who've experienced multiple first dates that have never gone anywhere, or several short lived experiences that haven't gone anywhere, or in many cases, the average person today has had one, two, three, four, five relationships lasting 3 months or longer. Within some of those relationships I just talked about, might be a marriage or two, might be a relationship lasting 5 years, 6 years, something along those lines. The reality is many of us have had a lot of different experiences and still wondering, why can't I meet the person of my dreams? Why can't I fall in love? Well, maybe it's time we change the script. Maybe it's time we change the narrative. Now, let me just say this. Our past relationships is our learning ground, is our practice to be better prepared to be in relationship. The reality is most human beings have weak emotional maturity and poor relationship skills. And while everybody thinks they're the exception, not the rule, if you're watching this video right now, I'm going to put you in the category of the rule and not the exception. And certainly you might feel otherwise. And this is just my opinion. So, in a moment, I'm going to share you the trick I believe that will change your love life forever. And I'm going to share 5 important tips around this shift. Now, one thing I do want to say, loving someone is never a waste of time. Putting all that effort you had before in connecting with people was never a waste of time. I want you to look at all your past experiences and ask yourself a few questions. This will better prepare you for this trick. And I invite you to ask these questions, to look inward, to self-reflect. And ask yourself, what positive things about myself did I learn in each one of these experiences? Now, I say experiences, what I really mean is relationships, okay? I simply mean relationships, but a relationship could simply be a first date, could actually be a short lived relationship. Dating someone for a few weeks and not having it go anywhere is a short-lived relationship, and what they are experiences. So I will invite you to look at all of your experience and ask, what positive things about myself did I learn in each one of these experiences? Now, you might also want to look at that same question from a different angle, and how have I healed my past from these relationships? You see, folks, whether you like it or not, we all have childhood wounds and adult traumas that cause us to have negative patterns, limiting beliefs, fears around relationships, even judgments, even bitterness, even jadedness can be birthed from all of these experiences. And so I ask yourself, how have you healed? If you're familiar with love attachment style, you might want to look and say, how did this experience help heal my love attachment style? Most everybody has an insecure love attachment style, whether it's anxious or avoidant, and there's certainly nuances within all those insecure. And again, most everybody watching this thinks I'm the exception, not the rule. And so if you're not familiar with the book Attached by Amir Levine and Rachel Heller, I highly recommend checking that out. Reading the books Getting the Love You Want by Harvell Hendrix and Helen Hunt. By the way, all the books I recommend are listed below in Jonathon Recommend Books in the show notes. Why I'm sharing this with you, if you want to change your love life, it's time to change your perspective. It's time to change the narrative. It's time to look at dating, mating, and relating with a completely different lens. You see, as I said earlier, we've adopted physical connection, particularly in the area of chemistry, as equal relationship success. But I want you to Do yourself a favor, reach out to people who you know, couples who you know who are in happy relationships. I mean, genuinely, you believe that they're happy in their relationship. And I want you to ask them this simple question: what is the secret to relationship success? What is the secret to relationship success? And I'm going to tell you, I've done this survey to thousands of couples, and let me tell you the number one answer. In other words, the prevailing answer every couple said, and that is they married their best friend. They're in relationship with their best friend. Friendship is the trick that will change your love life. And yet we're so hyper focused that a man must climb to the highest room of the tallest tower to prove his worth to a woman. First off, we shouldn't have to prove anything to another human being. What we should be focused, let me take out the word should. What I'm inviting everyone to be focused on is how can we build a genuine friendship before the physical intimacy? Bump, 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 bump. Are any of you following Lewis Howes? You might want to check out some of his work because he talks about his now wife, Martha, spent the first 3 months of their dating life not being physically intimate to actually build the deep roots of trust to form this relationship. You know how those roots of trust were formed? Social activities, hobbies, mutual interests, spending time with family and friends, traveling together, teamwork, building skills. So, I just shared with you, friendship is the trick. But I want to come back to you and have you look at those past relationships and really ask yourself, was I really a friend? Let me reframe that. Were we really friends with one another? Because when you look at the relationship, the positive things you learn, how did you heal? I invite you to look at the good things, but also the not so good things in the relationship. And I'd venture to say many of you might say that the not good things were that we weren't genuine friends. And I'll help you along the way in a moment. And lastly, when you look at your past relationships, I invite you to look at it from a place of gratitude. Look at all of those experiences from a place of gratitude, because that's going to better prepare you to be friends with someone. So, how do we build friendship in the dating process? Well, start by sharing your real life, not just your dating life, with each other. Everyday moments could be running errands, could be cooking, could be casual walks, it could be game night with friends. One another in the real world. Settling builds comfort and trust beyond romance. Again, we're so hyper focused on romance. I believe romance should be reserved for couples in a relationship, not as an entry point into a relationship. Now, some of you might be saying, but Jonathon, I'm talking to some guy who lives thousands, hundreds, if not thousands of miles away. We can't do everyday life. Well, let me ask you something. How do you expect to actually build the deep roots of trust? Through social activities, through hobbies, through mutual interests. How are you going to do that over the telephone? But Jonathon, we have this amazing connection. We talk all day long. Our conversations go something like this: Jonathon, how's your day going? Did you have a good day? I hope you had a good day. Tell me about your day. Folks, cyber relationships rarely ever turn into genuine love. They satisfy a brief need of physical connection when you connect with one another. It satisfies the need of not feeling lonely, of feeling a connection with another, but it doesn't build the deep roots of trust. If you're going to engage in some sort of long distance dynamic, then I invite you very quickly to have a plan of how this is long distance is going to turn into a short distance. And let me just say this bluntly to everybody. Today's dating environment is just a long string out version of friends with benefits. Sadly, the deep roots of trust will only be built through the everyday sharing of experiences. In addition, I invite you all to have curious driven conversations, Ask about values, ask about childhood stories, ask about quirks, ask about dreams, ask about fears, listen without rushing to impress. Friendship grows through the mutual understanding and shared vulnerability, not performance. When you share from the heart, and I know many of you men watching this are told not to be vulnerable because that's going to turn a woman off. And let me just tell you this, vulnerability builds intimacy. And I don't mean, sex intimacy. I mean intimacy, seeing a person from a heart-centered level. And that starts by having curious, driven conversations. I know you're told not to interview people in the early stage of dating. And again, I've jokingly said you should interrogate people. Now, I say this with a smile. And what I mean by interrogation is, what is it? It's about, an interrogation is about getting to the truth. How do we get to the truth? By asking curious questions about a person. You see, this hyper focus on fun, entertainment, a good time. Hey, look, you can roll the dice. It's like telemarketing. You can just keep picking up the phone and calling one person the next and hoping you'll actually build a friendship with someone through entertainment. Or maybe you can find out about who they are. Do you share the same values? Do you share the same vision? And while it's certainly important to have the me toos, you like sushi? Me too. You like pickleball? Oh, I do it often. You like stand-up paddleboard? Oh my God, it's my favorite sport. You like the Rolling Stones? I've seen them in concert 5 times. Are they still playing? Having those me toos are important. That starts the breeding ground for asking those curious, driven questions and conversations. Number 3, play and laughing together. You know what? Sadly, very few people are actually focused on play and laughter. They're more focused on flirting with one another. They're more focused on the physical connection, talking about how amazing this connection is from a physical standpoint, instead of really seeing, do you share the same sense of humor? Do you like the same areas of play? Do activities that bring out fun. I said this earlier, board games, light sports, comedy shows, silly challenges. Play creates relaxed bonding and lowers pressure to be perfect. If you haven't ever done the intimacy game by Best Self, you may want to check this out as a way to connect with someone from that curious place, certainly, but from a place of fun and play. Now, if you really want to build teamwork with or real friendship with someone, practice teamwork early. Collaborate on something simple. Plan a day trip, cook a meal, solve a puzzle. Shared problem solving builds camaraderie and shows how each other handles stress. When you're building friendship, by the way, the whole point, okay, let me be clear about something. From the vantage point I sit in, dating is a process to determine if this person is life partnership material. Are they life partnership material? And look at first date, besides starting with the agreement of trust, the first stage of relationship commitment is usually the agreement after committing to trust, being honest with one another, is monogamy and exclusivity. And monogamy is simply not being sexual with other people, and exclusivity means I'm not going to be looking for other people while we're together. But the second level of commitment is teamwork. Can we actually operate as teams with one another? I want to plant this in your consciousness. I mean, really, I can't begin to stress how important it is to think along these lines. But Jonathon, we only see each other once every other week. Folks, if you can't build trust through social activities, hobbies, mutual interests, spending time with family and friends on a regular basis, at least 2, 3, or 4 times a week, your relationship will probably not evolve. You might have a short-lived experience, but it won't evolve into a teammate-based relationship. And really, the third stage of commitment is an all-in stage where you're saying, I want to go down this train track with this person for the balance of my life. Now, I said this earlier. If you want to build friendship, which is the trick that will actually change your love life. If you're consciously focused on building the friendship outside the physical connection, then slow down the physical escalation. Talk openly about about wanting to know each other and other people first. Know each other as people first, excuse me, as people first. Use affection, hugs, holding hands to connect without rushing to sex, keeping space for deeper emotional intimacy. I know this is difficult because men in particular, and you guys watching this, look, you guys are driven by sex. I know this. I've been there. I've operated this way. And certainly, sex should be reserved when trust is built. And not that trust can't be built very quickly, but it's going to be built based on what I'm sharing. It's going to be built by starting from a place of honest, open communication. And it's going to be built when your intention is about long-term commitment and determining if you're aligned with one another to see if it makes sense to explore a relationship. That's what dating is. It's that period of time where you go, is this somebody I want to explore a relationship with? And again, from my vantage point, I invite you to explore a relationship with people who have intent for an all-in relationship. That means either living together or getting married at some point. And marriage doesn't have to be a legal marriage. It can be a spiritual marriage as well. And when you operate from that vantage point, I believe this will radically change your love life for the better. Is this sinking in? Is this resonating with you? Please let me know. I'd like to hear your thoughts on what I just shared. Post a comment below. I do my best to read them all in the first 24 hours. As always, if you find value in my videos, please hit that like button. Please share this video. Please subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell so you can be notified of new videos. And if you want to connect with me directly, hey, there's links below. Schedule a discovery call with me to see if working with a coach is right for you. Join my group called Midlife Love Mastery. Get the books I recommend. Also, here's a link to schedule that discovery call with me as well. All right, I'm going to wrap up this video as I always do. First off, give myself a big, gigantic Jonathon Barrack of self-love. I'm going to reach into the camera and give you a hug of love if that's okay. I'm going to ask you to turn to someone, a pet, a teddy bear, a pillow, and give it or them a hug of love because hugs are a great source of love. And let's face it, we could all use more love in our lives. Thanks a bunch. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye. Bye. Bye.